Has to say a few words about test strategy, and the most important thing I think about test strategy is to understand what the software is about and understand what's important for us right now in this situation. And the major way to find out what's important is to ask questions, because there will not be one or two documents that explain the things that are important. You need to ask people. They need to tell you stuff, and then you ask a follow-up question. That's the number one as a tester. In order to create a test strategy, ask questions to people and act on their answers. So of course, we need to practice on this. So what's your question to me about test strategy?
What is the first step? Could you tell me what is the first step and how it looks like?
The first step is to ask questions to people.
What is the first question that I need to ask?
The first questions I would ask, it depends on who I'm talking to, but probably it will be, what is important about this piece of software? And then they will say stuff with their own words that means something to them, and those words is something I can use when creating a test strategy, when doing my testing, and when reporting on my results. New question.
Do you still need a strategy in an agile environment?
That's a trick question. I like it. Because we always have a test strategy, right? Yeah. We don't always have a documented test strategy. Was that the question? If we need a documented test strategy?
No, just do things with your team. So instead of strategy, instead of approach.
Yeah. The test strategy might be something that is just in your head and in your colleagues' heads, and that might be perfectly fine. But if you're in a situation where more people need to know what kind of testing you're doing, and you need to be certain that you're doing the good testing and bringing the value that people need, then you should explain it to more people so you can get their feedback. And if you do that, they will also be more interested in your results. So needing a test strategy is not a question, because you always have one. The need is how much do I have to explain about it, and how many people do I have to talk to in order to establish it. New question?
What is a test strategy?
A test strategy for me is it's like the ideas that guide our testing effort. It's about what we're going to test and how we're going to test it. So for me, a test strategy is something tied to something we are doing right now, a project or an amount of time, and something tied to a specific situation and how we're going to do the testing and why we are doing it, and stuff like that. New question? You need to come here. Come here. Matthias,
yes.
Welcome.
Thank you. Shouldn't it be included in the development strategy? Isn't there a common goal for the entire project?
Good question. If the test strategy can be included in development strategy, fine. In my experience, usually they don't want it in the development strategy or development documents or development plans. And the people that are concerned are only concerned at the higher level. They don't want me to mess with their documents and pages. So it's more of maybe a culture that I own it and I can edit it and change it and explain it to whomever I want. But I would not bother it to be somewhere else. As long as it is a good test strategy, and as long as I and other testers are allowed to make changes to it, so it's not like hard written in stone, this is the strategy we will always use, because we know that the reality of things will change and we need to adapt to that. Du har redan fått fråga.
This one is a question I've struggled with lately. What would your approach to doing an agile test strategy be? Opposed to a waterfall test strategy?
I have worked in waterfall projects and agile projects, and to me the difference has been quite small actually. there always is important dates in the future, even how agile you are. So to me, it hasn't been that much of a difference. But if you work more tightly together with an agile team and the developers, I would do much less of writing stuff and sending it to people and much more talking. Maybe I would rather have a strategy for this week or for the next upcoming weeks. Maybe I would say that at least in 2 weeks we need to have a look at the test data to get better test data, because otherwise the results aren't realistic enough. And it will be very hands-on and very practical stuff that we discuss in the team, probably. But of course everything is different in each project.
I find the same thing. You have to put some stuff in it that is important.
You have to put some stuff in it that is important, yes?
Yeah, and that doesn't change whether it's waterfall or agile.
So there is some kind of testing we want to do, and we should be aware of the test strategy we have for accomplishing it. Yes? More questions? You have already had a question, so but do we? Yeah, one more.
So what is a good testing?
A good test strategy is something that helps you deliver value with your testing. Something that helps you find information that other people need. It could be bugs or enhancements, or it could be quality assessment towards some goals, or it could be ticking off boxes in an accessibility standard that you need to fulfill. It could be many things, but the things that help you provide good information that other people need. If we don't provide information they don't need, it was a waste of time. How are we on time?
Still at 4 o'clock, so...
We have a couple of minutes left. New question. Here's some crutches.
So how detailed do you think a good strategy should be?
How detailed do you think a good test strategy should be? It should be appropriately detailed, so it would differ very much depending on the project. I mean, there might be cases where it's enough just to say, well, we did this last month, we will do the same again. Could be. It could be other cases where a lot of effort is at stake, and it's a big project, and it's thousands of man hours that you're elaborating with. Then maybe you need to write more details. But it's very important that if you explain to someone or write it down, that you write it on an appropriately high level so they understand what you write. So if I'm about to explain a strategy for the CEO, I use some words, and if I explain to a developer, I use other words. Because I know what the strategy is in my head, but it might need different packaging depending on who I am communicating with. Final question. Maybe you're thinking, I have a good question, but I will ask him afterwards. And to that I say, it's fine. It's okay to ask me questions later on. Thank you for your time.